In my pack I have a series of tarps, and I'm busy swapping one tarp to the other, and I have one that's too long for a particular setup, another one a little too short, so I'm gonna have to adapt quite a lot. But what we're looking at is the actual line itself. A while ago I modified a line to suit myself, which was a prototype. On the prototype line I had toddle on the loop onto a prusik. Now this is going to hold up the underquilt rather than connecting it straight to the end of the hammock, which I prefer to do, or to even to a tree. In red was an ordinary prusik to hold the actual tarp, and no toddle on that, just the knot would keep that into place with the friction. And I did promise you what I was going to do was upgrade to a Dyneema. In the end it wasn't a Dyneema, it was similar to a Samson line, but the Samson line that I got is a clone of Samson line, and I just wished I'd have bought from America and just paid the import, because the stuff I've got now tangles up like hell and I'm not overly happy with it. But it's got some gizmos on, which are the a toddle to tighten up instead of the loop that I had. And what else has been replaced? Yeah, I've got NAMA claws or cat claws to hold the tarp instead of the prusiks. So I have one setup which is more traditional with loops and knots, and another setup that is all gadgets. And although it's all gadgets, like you saw, I can still revert back to prusiks and knots if that's the way I want to go. So there's something for everyone. If you prefer to see knots and prusiks, there's already a video on that. If for any interest you want to see something with gadgets, which are the NAMA claws to hold the tarp, and a toddle for the end tie off instead of that prusiks hitch, and it's got a spliced in hook to go round the first tree with. None of these are necessary to put a tarp up, but they're out there on the market. But what I wanted to do is reduce the volume of the actual line itself, so from that big thick line here to something a lot more compact. But it's tangling up is what is happening, and I'm not overly happy. Like I said in the first place, I just wished I'd have ordered from America and got proper Samson line. So what I'm going to do is show you how I put everything into the tarp so it doesn't tangle. Now, proper Samson line won't tangle, this stuff does tangle, and I'm going to show you inside the tarp how I prevent that from happening. This bit here is the second tie off on the toddle. This is your first hook that goes around the first tree, and I've just laid it out bay line style, which we'll do at the end when we pack up. Some lightweight pegs, I think I just have 2 in there, so 2 tent stakes, maybe 3. But I'm going to fold it back over on itself like that, and just pull from this one end hook here, and as I pull it shouldn't tangle as more line comes through. But that goes around the tree next, and what we want to see is if any part of this tangles as I pull this out. These are the NAMA claws. I have a couple of my own prusiks on in between the NAMA claws, but already as I'm pulling out of the tarp here, I've got a tangle. Let's see if I can just get rid of that tangle. Yeah, and put the rest up to a tree, or I can detangle it like this. Hopefully there's going to be no knotting. Now I can take the other end with the toddle, and I can move the toddle down the line and put this to the second tree. Now this toddle will slide up and down the line quite freely until I pull the section out of the middle of the toddle, give it a little twist and put that twist over the end of the toddle. Now that won't move up and down the line. So in essence that was as quick as that needs to be. The hook goes around tree, hooks over the line, other end around the second tree, and the toddle is then locked off into place, and then I go around the toddle to get some 2-to-1 tension. Once I have that tension, I just go around the toddle again, and I'll show the toddle being locked off at the end of the video. But for now, let's just see the NAMA claws, and all I have to do is put the end of the top up to the NAMA claws. I've just put some orange cord onto mine to make it a little easier, and I've done all this with my gloves on. There's the NAMA claw, and there is the top onto it. Now I can pull all I want, and this NAMA claw locks into position. I need to bend the NAMA claw like that in order for it to freewheel up and down the line. As soon as I let go, it's locked off. Now I always like to go with the top over the line. Now it doesn't have to, but for my modification on an underquilt it does. So you can have it below or over. And I want to try and get in here as quick as I can. Get some rain protection for the camera. Well, although my camera is waterproof, the mic pack is not. So I've just got this shelter up just in time, and this is the actual design I've gone with for, I think, one of my winter systems. Now it's not quite long enough, the top, so instead of going from the apex to the apex, it's similar to a diamond configuration, but it's just one loop down, and it just gives it a little bit of extra length either side, enough for my compound hammock with my underquilts on. Now my summer one is a very long top. It's very open, it's very high, and it doesn't need to be close to the top, sorry, to the hammock. But as it's not quite summer yet, what I'll do is configure that one at home. Right then, just wait for this rain to ease off. I will put a UK version against a US version of Ridgeline with all the gadgets on further into the season, and we'll have a look at that. And they're much the same price as well. I was trying to save a bit of time on postage getting it from Henge Hammocks UK, which I hadn't bothered. Terrible stuff, terrible. Just get proper Samson line or Zing It. You'll know it as Zing It or Zing and Lash It. Okay, let's have a look at this weird configuration up top. This here is the very corner if I was to make it into a diamond. Let's come up and over, and this is the ridge loop where you can see the ridge there, the seam, and anchored out. So I haven't gone to the seam edge, and I haven't gone to the far corner to make a diamond. It's right in between them two, and they alternate. So that is on a enamel claw there, and the line is up on the inside, and it is quite solid. Now I can obviously move the enamel claw up and down this line just like a prusik would. So you've got an option to go all gadget or all knot and loop. The one in the pack there is knot and loop. I think this is ready to go. I can put this in my pack as it is. I have all the correct amount of tent stakes I need. I've got a terrible crease in it here, so I need to get this end peg out. That needs to come and tighten a lot more. Let's pull that. But that is the shape and design I would have for my winter setup, but without it being sealed at one end like my other tarp, which I can seal off at one end. It's very exposed to the wind, which should be coming straight in here. But that was solved by having a weather shield around the actual underquilt. So that's my thinking. This lightweight sill tarp, which is the Super Light by DD. I'm not a fan of DD, by the way. It's just what is affordable to me. And this is the Super Light version made of sill rather than the poly. And it's about 495 grams, I think. I'll put a correction here if that is wrong. The other tarp is 4 meters. That's going to be my summer one. It's very open, it's very airy, it goes very high up. It's more of a sunshade and to keep debris falling on my head when I sleep from the trees, because squirrels will always throw things at me. I'm sure they do it on purpose. The green line is by Henge hammocks here. Wow, this, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but it's not a Samson line. It twists and tangles up. It's terrible stuff. Terrible, terrible stuff. And it's not the first time I've been disappointed by Henge hammocks either. I had an adjustable ridgeline and that just fell apart after its first season. All the knots just came undone and everything. And I'm pretty sure it was the same when I had some continuous loops as well. Even they started to fray and come apart. But maybe it's just me having bad luck with that company, because I know a lot of other people don't. But I would steer clear of this kind of line here and continue using your Samson line or your Zing and Lash-It line, because it is tangle free. I can go from finger to thumb and then ravel it and it just doesn't tangle. This does. It's a nightmare. So now I'm going to have to put this back in to the pack, all that line, and bayline style, which is just loose on top of itself, like you'd be packing line into a bayline bag for rock climbing or for mountain rescue. You just drop it into your bag loose, so when you throw your bag the line all comes free and doesn't tangle. And that's the only way I could do this with this line, is bayline it into the tarp itself. Now what I want to do is prove to you that you don't need to wrap your lines to stop them tangling. You can have your lines loose and I promise you they won't tangle. So this tarp is coming down, this one is coming up, and you can see I have all the lines here for the guys are all loose. So watch this all tangle up, or will it? Because this is proper Zing and Lash-It line. Let's see if it does tangle, leaving all your guy lines loose. I never roll and fold them, never. So that hasn't tangled there. Let's come over to this section here. It's just got a stick in it, but that hasn't tangled. The longer one in orange here, that's not tangled. None of it is tangled. That's HENGE-IT line. Ordinarily, with most lines, I want to make sure there's no knots in them at all. Here is, I want to go around my thumb and my finger, or just around my fingers like this. Let's do it like this, and then I can make a loop and put that through, and it all hangs very neat like that. And I have 10 of these to do on the perimeter. I have 2 either side of the tarp for the pull outs. That's 12. Even if I could do every one of these wraps 1 a minute, that's still 12 minutes, when really, if you get the proper Samson line or the Zing and Lash It, which this is, the HENGE-IT line, there's no need. You just get it all like this, like spaghetti, and just get it in your pack. I have never had that tangle on me, but this other green stuff that I've got from Henge hammocks, I'm really disappointed with it. So what I'm going to do is reorder some proper HENGE-IT line. It's about 30 quid for 15 meters, so that's £2 a meter. If I get it from Dutch, over at Dutchware US, he'll put these kind of gadgets on for me, whether it's a spliced hook or the cat claws or nammed claws they're calling it here, whatever toddle system I want, and you can build it up to your own specifications. But I have a line that I'm just quite happy using knots with, to be honest with you, but the toddle system's alright, it's quite nice. So I've used a hook on the first tree and gone around it. That leaves this little toddle here, which I want to get close to the tree, and this is free here to move up and down the line, and it's a lot easier keeping your little toddle pointing to the sky to get it to move one way or the other. Let's move it closer to the tree, about there. But I want to lock this off. So to lock this off, that toddle, let's just pull some line out using this little pull here. I'll show you that again. There's a little pull. Grab the pull, make a little twist and put it over your toddle. So now it won't move up or down your line. Then with the free end around the tree, and once it's gone around the tree, this line here in my hand goes behind the toddle. Give it some tension and come around that toddle again, and you can feel it just click into place. To release, I just work the opposite way, so I have to remember which way I did this, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise, and that is undone. And there's the toddle. Lift that receiver and it will slide again up and down. Again, to lock this bit off, lift some line out of the centre and just pop your little toddle into that loop you just made. Now it won't slide left or right. Round the tree, and then just wrap it around the toddle and it'll snap into place. It is a magnet for debris, this line. It really is. And it's a magnet for tangles as well. So I do bay line mine. Look at that, it's got a knot in it already. That's big knot, that shouldn't be there. I've never had this issue with HENGE-IT line or Dyneema. Yeah, so I'd have to beyline it into the tarp rather than use my forefinger and thumb to roll it. This is the stuff from Henge hammocks, by the way. So if you get the good stuff, if you get the Zing and Lash It, this problem isn't so prominent. There's another knot here. Shouldn't have this knot in. The Zing and Lash It line just doesn't do this, all this knotting all the time. And there's one on the end there. And as you notice from the proper Zing and Lash It line that I had on the tarp, the yellow and the orange stuff, I've never ever wound them up, and I've got full trust that they don't tangle up. But this method here, I can go from thumb to finger. This will tangle, but unfortunately that is what I've got to do, put up with it tangling or beyline it. So I'll see if I can beyline it for you instead. Get all my gadgets down to one end, which is the hook, the cat claws or nammer claws they're calling them, and Prosix, another nammer claw. Put that on my tarp and then feed down like this onto my tarp, and I've got about 15 meters I think to do this, might be more. But this beyline method won't tangle. I just want to keep the gadgets out of the way to one side there and continue beylining this. Now this method will prevent this from tangling up. There's another tangle with that horrible green clone cord. It's terrible stuff, this. But I'll have to keep going slowly like this. Another loop there. So it's not knotting, it's twisting, and it's making loops that then knot. But this is beyline. If this was Zing and Lash It, I would just leave it. I wouldn't even toddle it. It would just be loose in the pack, or maybe just wrap it from thumb to finger. But you can't do that with this stuff here, and in the end there's a knot there as well. Once all that is in, I can just fold over the tarp. Not impressed with that at all. Now of course there is no try before you buy option with stuff like that. You just have to read the reviews on the actual website, or you can go to YouTube, and I notice YouTube is a terrible place to get honest opinions. People will say, oh, it's great, they love it, but I've got something to put it into a comparison with. I've got that Zing and Lash It line, and I can tell you that this stuff from Henge hammocks is awful. Now it doesn't actually claim that it is Zing and Lash It, or it doesn't claim to be a Samson line. It does claim to be their version of a RIDGELINE. That should have been a red flag right there. I'm going to go home right now, and I'm going to go over to Dutchware, and he's in the States, and nice guy, Dutch, nice guy. He's got his own videos out on YouTube, makes all his own kit, like tarps, RIDGELINEs, you name it, hammocks, he makes them, sells them online. I've got one of his hammocks. I'm going to get one of his tarps in Dyneema, but this clone line from the UK is very inferior. So we're ending on a sad note there, but hopefully it'll have saved someone seeing it and thinking, I might buy that. And I'm not telling you not to buy it, but I would think twice, because the real stuff is the good stuff. And even if it's a bit dearer, using the Zing-IT, I think it's worth it. Until next time, take care of yourself. I'll see you out there. Happy trails.